Now I wish I could stay in one place. But the truth is you won't want me unless I can run away. It's my first time living and I ain't dead yet. A couple good friends and a few outstanding debts keep me depressed when I'm driving still. Not a road dog, I am just roadkill, just roadkill.
Well, he sounds like a presidential name, but he can't even get into most bars. We got Jackson James here. How you doing today, brother?
Good, I'm doing good today. How are you, Mr.
Good,
John
real
Carter?
good. When do you turn 21? Off the record. We won't share this with the bars.
I mean, you can. So I turned 19 this past August, so I will turn 21. I've never been good at math, but I think in about 2 years, two and a
Hey,
half years.
that's why we stick to music. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we won't tell anyone. That's our secret. But you're
All right.
based out of Nacogdoches,
Yes, sir.
and
I'm in
you're from
Nacogdoches currently, right now.
currently. Okay, and you're from Hughes, though.
I'm from a little town called Hughes Springs. It's about two
Hughes
hours north
Springs.
of Nacogdoches, kind of going to Texarkana.
Okay, perfect. And you still kind of claim Texarkana.
Yeah, I mean, Texarkana is kind of where we got started playing shows. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
right when I first started my junior year of high school, we started playing shows. I had like a three-piece band with my buddies in high school, and every weekend we'd play at a little bar in Pittsburgh, Texas, and then we played a
Yeah.
little bar in Texarkana, Arkansas. And every weekend we would just flip-flop back and forth. And it wasn't the best, but it did give me a start to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and it's been a strong start because I mean you've already been able to experience a lot of that road dog experience, which we'll talk about down the
Yes, sir.
interview. What got you really inspired? I know you look up to like Tyler Childers, but was it a certain album? Was it a certain song? Was it growing up around music?
I
What got
mean,
you into it?
Purgatory by Tyler Childers is like one of the greatest albums of all time. Like it is my favorite. I love it so much. I have a tattoo of Purgatory on my arm, and
Yeah,
like
is
literally
that the
right
inside
here.
forearm? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good
And
reminder.
so, well, this is gonna be my music sleeve. I don't know what this sleeve's gonna be yet. I don't have a lot of money, so tattoos come rarely, but I will get them soon, maybe on a tax return. But yeah, Tyler Childers is a big one for me. I remember, I think my senior year of high school, I had a job at a restaurant, and it was about a 7-minute drive to the restaurant back and forth. So every morning when I got my truck, I would put the Purgatory CD on in my van, and then I'd put Billy Strings Home on repeat. So those two albums kind of shaped my formative years. Well, I'm still in my formative years, but my high school years. But yeah, I love Billy Strings, love Tyler Childers, but I also love a lot of classics. I mean, um, I kind of have a weird upbringing when it comes to music. My mom was a huge Matchbox 20 fan and anything 90s, so I have a lot of 90s rock influence. And then my dad, on the other hand, he's like into this weird like horror punk, kind of like Alkaline Trio, like weird shit, you know. So it gives me a really good balance to where I saw both spectrums of what music really is, but I never had a lot of musicians around when I was a kid, so I didn't pick up guitar till my eighth grade year. And I just started learning guitar because basically all of my friends were really good in athletics, and I was a pudgy little kid that couldn't do much, and I needed something to be better at than people. So music was kind of my outlet to have a leg up on my friends.
Yeah, as our listeners can tell, you are not afraid to be honest, and that's why we love you. You tell
No,
it
I
how it
mean,
is.
I think honestly, well, there's a song off the first EP that I really talk about that was kind of therapeutic for me to write. Because people always say, like songwriting is like therapy, but I mean, there's probably only around three or four songs that have actually been like therapeutic for me. The rest, I'm just trying to
Hmm.
write something catchy and honest. But it's a song called "Looking Out for Myself," and it's one that I always talk about on stage, just about how like my senior year, I was about to move out, and I had to do a lot of maturing in like a month's time, and I kind of made a vow to myself, like from that day forward, no more. I would have like four faces that I would put on in public around different people,
Hmm.
and I just quit. I just stopped caring, and now I'm just me. I think.
That's how it should be, man. You bring something that no one else can, and no matter how big or small that is, it's important that you remain true to yourself, like really true to
Well, I
yourself.
think also like it's something as simple as just waking up every day. I it's stupid, but like I own like 10 pairs of overalls, and that's all I wear. You'll never see me in a pair of jeans ever, just because like I've always strive to like live like a cartoon character, like Hank Hill or Peter Griffin. Every day you know who they are, you know what they're going to be doing. So I kind of just like consistency was the biggest goal for me, and it still is. I mean, I'm always trying to keep a schedule in my life.
Yeah. Well, and speaking on that, just a little tangent. We both loved that we showed up to today, not speaking about it, and we both showed up in overalls. We also both showed up to the spotlight at Kung Fu Saloon, which is how we even met with overalls.
Yes,
We are both very consistent. Do you have a
I'm
specific
gonna need
brand
that
you're
hat
loyal
though.
to? Oh,
Yeah.
hey, shout out to Retro Hat Company. They
All
actually
right.
partnered with me to
I'm
give me
at the
this
snag
hat.
me one.
Come
Yeah,
on,
I'm at the snag me
they're
one.
fantastic. They're right out of Oklahoma, so
Oh wow.
we
Okay.
love Casey and the crew. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fantastic. But do you have a specific brand of overalls you're loyal?
I mean, honestly, a lot of the overalls I get nowadays are the ones that my mom buys for me from like garage sales or Tractor Supply, but I really like Roundhouse. You can't go wrong with Roundhouse. I think like Carhartt on like jackets is superior, but Carhartt overalls are not my favorite. I don't
No,
like them. They have a weird clip on them. I don't like them.
I don't like their
But
cut.
I don't know what brand these are.
Oh
They're
yeah, yeah,
Big
I recognize
Smith.
that. Yep.
Yeah, Big Smith.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Big Smith's the one that's been around for a long, long time. But
Very
I
old.
always like wearing them. I have like a tan white pair. I have like three striped ones, and then I have like three of these.
Hmm.
But yeah, I love overalls. They're so comfortable for me.
So comfortable. Circling back to music tastes, do you think also your like mom raising you around Matchbox 20 and your dad kind of having that uh what would best way to describe it? Are you saying like angst? Are you saying like angst, kind of darker,
I think
heavy metal?
Yeah, what I really liked about growing up was that I know a lot of my friends who are musicians like grew up around like their parents were musicians and their grandparents were musicians and they grew up around like live music. But I grew up more around a like listener family. Like they were really big into listening to music, like
Mm,
going into albums, knowing the history behind the songs. And I think that really helped me out once I started learning the technical music side of things was that I came into it as a listener and not as a musician, which I think is a big balance that you have to have, especially when recording your own music, going to a live show. Like there's so much more than just the technical notes and everything.
dude, that's
But
yeah, that's really cool.
yeah, I like, and I had a really good upbringing, a really good childhood, and my favorite memories of all times was just driving around in my grandpa's truck. We would put on a cassette. Like my grandpa always had the Remember the Titans soundtrack, and then the Temptations. So he
Yeah.
loved that kind of music. Um, and then my dad was a little bit on the harder side, and then my mom was just really big into like the radio music.
Yeah. Do you think that's also what pushed you like really to like Red Dirt? Did any of them play those ones you look up to, like Pat Green, Stoney LaRue,
So
Randy
I
Rogers?
have a lot of history with red dirt. So I grew up in Huntsville, Texas. I moved away from Huntsville in my third grade year of elementary school. So I didn't get to stay much in there. But my mom was the reporter at the newspaper there. And so anytime like a red dirt act would come through, she'd get to go cover it. Or, like they would just play around there a lot. So like my mom's got pictures with like Pat Green, Stoney LaRue, artists like that. So I grew up around like my earliest memories was Wave on Wave by Pat Green and Down in Flames by Stoney LaRue. I just remember that on the way to school every morning. And so I knew the songs, but what was funny about it was that when I first started getting into Red Dirt on my own, I didn't even know that my mom liked it. And I started listening to songs and I knew all the words already just from my subliminal or subconscious memory.
Subconscious. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that I loved Red Dirt, but I've loved it since I was a kid. And
I love
it's still
that.
like
Yeah.
that. Like I'll come across a song and I'll know the melody and the lyrics already and I don't even know where I heard it from. So yeah, no, my mom's like a huge, but the big push was I got into culinary my I believe my sophomore year of high school, and I had a teacher named Miss Rice, and she was funny enough. Rice is her last name, and she's a culinary teacher,
I was
but
about to
she
make that
was
joke,
super
but
pivotal. Yeah, she was super pivotal in my musical growth because like up until then, I probably had like 15 songs on my playlist that I would just listen to over and over again, and she would get on the speaker and she'd start playing these songs and I'd be like, "Oh, what is that song?" or "What is that song?" And she was always really big in that Red Deer music. So like after about like 2 weeks, I had a stockpile of songs to kind of listen to, and that was right around the time I started learning how to play live. and she used to let me grab my guitar out of my van and come into the dish room and sing for everybody. And so it's kind of cringy looking back now because I didn't sound that good, but she really gave me a huge push on what was possible. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, I have her to thank, and then I have my parents to thank for that.
Man, I think you'll always see yourself as cringy, and I think I think
Yeah.
as an artist you should because you're always growing, you're always developing, and also I think a
Yes.
lot of time us artists are like our hardest critic. You know, I mean, I look back on some dances and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, why
Oh,
did I even
yes.
think to do that? You know, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the point is sometimes you got to give yourself a little grace. Sometimes you got to give yourself
For sure.
room to grow and ability to forgive yourself and learn
Yes.
from it, you know? But you took all that, all the so-called cringiness, and you like to follow the line that you call Redgrass. Tell me about that.
So back when we first started playing shows, I don't know if anyone really knows how you book shows, but the way I do it is it's kind of just like cold calling. You just send this pre-typed message to anyone who will listen. And so for the first, like when I first started booking shows, I was having a lot of trouble catching people's eyes. And so it was like I watched a YouTube video on like 5 tips on how to book shows, and one of them was finding an image, finding a brand, so to say. And I think that's been my most pivotal, helpful trick. When I first started playing shows, I remember I wore overalls one day, and someone said, "I like them overalls, boy, them good overalls. Here's a tip or something." And I realized, that catches an eye, something as simple as that. And sometimes it's not, like Lenny Wilson has her bell bottoms, or, Stone
Hmm.
LaRue has his red bandana. It's little things like that where you see them in a store and you think, that guy, that one dude that does that one thing. And so, I started wearing overalls at every show. And, then I was like, shit, I'll grow a mustache, or something like that. But I was looking for something stylistic that I could do. And so I started off in bluegrass. I started off listening to Billy Strings videos on YouTube during my free time, and then I got into like older stuff like Tony Rice, Ralph Stanley, J.D.
Hmm.
Crowe. I mean, like all the people who kind of built this up, Flatt and Scruggs, shit like that. And so I started off in bluegrass, and I played maybe 3 bar shows of like it was like 4 hours of bluegrass covers. And by the end of it, everyone had left. No one wanted to hear it, is because it's kind of goofy on some of the songs, and it's not what you want to hear if you're drinking. And so I remember there was a Touch Tunes in the corner, and it was playing songs by Stone LaRue, Pat Green, Randy Rogers, Charlie Robinson. And Charlie Robinson really caught my eye, specifically him, just because his songwriting was amazing and the way he delivered, like his deliverance was
Hmm.
really, really good. He had a rowdy edge to it, but he could pull it back. Like there's songs like The Preacher, Big City Blues, um, I'm drawing a blank right now, but those are songs that kind of have that raw edge to it. But then you have songs like Magnolia, which are a lot more cut back, acoustic, like really good cuts. And so I really liked his balance. His A sides on his albums were really Red Dirt Rock, and his B sides were more acoustic and
Hmm.
grass related. And then I got into the Turnpike Troubadours. And so Turnpike and Charlie Robinson are like my huge Mount Rushmore of country musicians, and I kind of was like, "What's red dirt? It's bluegrass," and you just kind of it doesn't take a genius to add those together. So yeah, I call it red grass. I didn't invent it. I probably didn't even coin it first, but I've
Hmm.
never heard anyone use it before, so I like to use it.
Yeah, nothing is new under the sun. However, it's very different. It's the same thing, man, when people compliment me on overalls. It's like, man, this is I wear
Exactly.
this specifically because in my scene, on one side, a lot of like non-country dancers, as in, excuse me, folks from the city, they don't feel they can dress up cowboy. They don't feel they're allowed to wear a hat or that because they feel like they feel like it's appropriation, but that's a whole other story
Yes.
getting into that. But then on the flip side, a lot of cowboys will see me dance, down in the yards. So I wear these to kind of signal. It doesn't mean I won't wear a hat. It doesn't mean I mean, I have a whole ladder right now of jeans. Like I have my
Yes.
Wrangler retro cuts. I have all that. But when I
Mm-hmm.
wear this out, it's my signal to let people know I'm a farmer. I come from a family of farmers. This is my history. And also, it's,
Yes.
dude, you don't have to buy like pants. I buy a shirt. And so I throw my overalls, throw my shirt, throw a hat on. I'm ready to go out. It doesn't
Well,
take me two
yeah.
minutes to get ready.
Exactly. That was a big thing with me is that like I would be late to like dinners, or I'd be late to just go visit with friends because I'd be like having a nervous breakdown about what to wear, like if I'm looking good. And so I just wore an outfit one day, And I mean, you can see this is my closet right here. My fiance gets the real closet. I get the rack, but
Hey,
it's all
smart
button
man.
ups. And so I like wearing a button up and I like wearing overalls. And that's just what I do.
Yeah,
And it's easy to pack for shows too. If I've got a 3 show weekend where I'm on the road, three
yeah,
button ups, 3 overalls. I'm done.
you're set.
Yeah.
Speaking on that tangent, how has planning been going? You're getting married in October.
Yeah,
Have
we
you been
actually,
helping at
we're
all, or are
going,
you just making her do all the work?
no, well, we're balling on a budget here. So, we're both in it. We actually spent like all last night getting we have like a shared notes app, so we're just like organizing everything. But we're
Smart
going
man.
tomorrow to secure the venue. We're gonna get married at a state park. So there's a place called Cattle Lake State Park, which is about an hour and a half
Hmm.
up from Nac near Marshall and the Louisiana state line, where we're gonna get married. So the wedding is set to be in October. We're gonna hope that we can confirm a date tomorrow for that.
Perfect. Well, if you need any help with that first dance, just let me know.
All right, yeah, I'm done.
I'll help you out
Well, we're
there.
saving on DJ equipment because I can just use all of my show equipment for
There
DJing.
you go. Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing too, a lot of people don't realize, but like if luckily someone like me has a brother that my brother's not a DJ. He's a cop,
Mm-hmm.
but he has really good taste in music. So I don't feel the
Yes.
need to do anything besides hand him a playlist that we both make and then he just plays it. You know, it's not that big of a
Yeah.
deal. But I
Yeah.
want to
Because
yeah, you're good.
well, I was gonna say, like DJing's it's an art because you have to listen to it from a listener standpoint. It's a big like, how am I gonna get these people out of their seats onto a dance floor and congregate? Get all together.
Yeah, and that's being a dancer and trying to bring back a lot of that honky tonk connection between dancers and the live band. A lot of people don't recognize like you can't just play two step all night. You can't just play waltzes. Like you have to know what style you're playing. And as a DJ,
Mm-hmm.
I've DJed before, and really the concept again, if you're a good listener, it's not difficult to understand. But it's almost like you're trying to make a heartbeat. You need to build the tempo
Yes.
up, and the good DJ is how long can I hold that high tempo? Then you have to
Mm-hmm.
bring it down at some point. A lot of people don't recognize that, but they try to play these high tempo songs and then just keep it going. And it's like, we're tired. We don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you got to
That's where you
slow it
gotta have
down
break
and then bring
periods.
it
You
back
gotta let
up.
people get a drink.
That's the point of line dancing. But you've
Well,
seen plenty.
I was gonna say this is kind of my last thing was that like the best advice I ever got for doing live shows is learn to read a room because you can't have the same
Mhm.
set list every single show. You got to change it like a split second beforehand. Really read the room and see what people actually like. But yeah, that's kind
Yeah.
of my only thing.
No, I think it's really important. And I really love that you mentioned someone like Pat Green, Charlie Robinson's, people like them because they're not always known for their vocals, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how do they make people feel them? It's because of their delivery and their songwriting. And I
Yes.
think in a lot of the drops you've had, you've done really well to show your inspiration from them. You've also, like we just talked about, you've done a lot of traveling, and we talked about it at the spotlight. But I'm curious where you kind of see that balance because we both agree on that one point of social media kind of killing the initial stage of what artists
Yes.
need, right? And that's not the artist's fault, that's the consumer's fault. That's a big point we agree on. But then on the flip side, you're like, I've done the road dog style. I'd much rather play like local, stay at home with my fiance. So like how do you balance those two ideas? And if you want to talk a little more on both to expose them a little more, but that's what so it's the consumer's fault, 100% agree, and then also the road dog life is hard, which I 100% agree. But I think you can see where kind of those might not fully clip, and I'm
Yeah.
curious where you would
Well,
put those completely together.
I think life is always a big balance, but I mean, let's take this month for example. Tonight and tomorrow we're playing kind of like an hour away from home, like not too far. But then next week we're going to be in Granbury and Waxahachie, which is like 3+ hours away. And then the next week we're out in Odessa, which is like a 7+hour drive for me. So in terms of traveling, there's a trade-off where what I've always said is that the moment the internet came around, music changed because where I can drive 7 hours to a bar in Odessa and play for 50 people, maybe 25 of them will click the link, maybe 15 of them will listen, and maybe five will add it to my playlist. But I can post a TikTok video that gets 3,000 views off the top, and I maybe got 500 listeners right off of that. And all it took was 5 minutes of making a video, 2 minutes of posting. I didn't have to drive 7 hours. I didn't have to spend $200 on gas. I didn't have to do any of
Hmm.
that. So, like right now, music is my full-time job. So I don't do the shows for exposure because they don't really give you that good exposure. You do it for the money, you do it for the paycheck. So it's a hard balance. But kind of what I've learned and what I try to tell people is that anytime you travel anywhere, anytime you do anything, you are sitting on a mountain of content. So if you have a 7 hour drive with a show coming up, film a day in the life video, film yourself just driving. People love that because a lot of people never got the opportunity to do that or never have wanted
Hmm.
to do it. But even if you don't want to do something, it's good to watch it. So anytime you do anything, you're sitting on a mountain of content, record yourself. Like today I'm filming a day in the life. So, I'm filming us doing the podcast and I'm going to film the drive there, film the show, film some videos from there. I mean, in a live show, you're playing 30 to 40 songs. Record those things. You've got 40 TikToks to post every day at noon and you're good. You never have to post again. So that's kind of my balance when it comes to playing shows. But I think honestly the problem is that I always think back to the movie Wall-E, where all those people are on the floaty carts just going through space. They could walk if they wanted to, but they're going to choose the path of least resistance. So I think that's the same way with TikTok is that a lot of artists choose to just go that route. Because honestly, I wish I was TikTok famous. I wish I was any kind of famous. It doesn't matter how I get there, you know? I'll be like Kim K and Ray if I need to. Any way to get famous. Not really, but there is some limitations. But I will say that I'm down to try anything if it works.
Yeah, and I love too that you just show that you're a numbers man, that you pay
Yes,
attention to
I
those things and you use them
every
to your
day I
benefit.
refresh my artist apps, my like if you're artist or creative, they have like Spotify for artists, Apple Music for artists, and then you can go
Hmm.
look at your YouTube views, TikTok analytics. Like analytics are important, like because that's kind of how I book shows. If I see that I have a spike in DFW or Houston, I'm going to focus on those markets because I know that people are listening. And so that's a huge one. And also, if you're having a bad day, sometimes some good numbers can pick you up easily. But
Yeah,
it's a two-sided coin. If you have bad numbers, it can make you in a super bad mood.
exactly.
So
That's
yeah,
what I was about to say. And it's really cool though how you just connected those because you can balance content creation with still doing the road dog life without also glorifying the road dog life because you have
exactly.
a
Yeah,
pretty great story of trying to survive on the road dog life of
it's
including broken transmissions, Taco Bell, and carrying everything in your mom's van. Why don't you walk us through that one?
yeah. So I always talk about my bad luck on the road. It's no secret. People don't want to be around me because I've always got something going wrong. But in this particular day, I'd woken up. My drummer was sleeping on my couch, so I woke him up, and we both loaded our truck up with the equipment. We had a show in Texarkana that night, so we left at noon. I maybe got 5 minutes out of the town, and I broke down completely, like just sputtered out, could not start it or anything. And so we loaded all the equipment into my drummer's small little Ford Ranger, and so we have a full show's equipment in the small truck. So we got stuff piled high in the truck bed, flying in the wind. We get to Hughes Springs, which is about a 2 hour drive, and my mom has a minivan. So we were like, okay, that's a lot better. So we loaded everything in the minivan, and I was like, well, shoot, I asked the parents, I was like, do you want to come? So the parents drove us, and we kind of sit in the back. We get to the show, we unload, the clouds start coming overhead and we're like, okay, it's about to rain. But luckily we're inside tonight. But the thing about this venue is that like the stage area is like halfway inside, halfway outside. And so the rain starts coming down and then the tornado sirens start going off. And the floor is just filling up with water. The TVs are smoking and popping off, and the sirens are going, and nobody's leaving. This is like a hole in the wall dive bar, and no one's leaving because everyone's too macho, I guess. So we just play right through it. And I was just praying that none of my equipment broke. And so we finally got done with the show. I took a deep breath. And I was like, all right, let's load up, get out of here, and let's go get our Taco Bell because we get Taco Bell every night.
You
It's
have
how
to.
I got this big. It is me.
This
But
body's fueled by Taco Bell.
yes. So anyways, we went to Taco Bell. We got the food ordered, and right when we went to switch into drive, the transmission snapped, and we were just stuck in park. And stuck in park right in the Taco Bell drive-thru. And we had already spent maybe 3 to 4 grand fixing it up, trying to get it to run. And after did that, we called my bassist. We were like, "Hey, we know you're halfway home, but come back and get us." We loaded 6 people plus all the equipment into his truck, and we left that van sitting there. And so sometimes you just have to cut your losses. I think it's a the big thing, if you're holding on to something tightly, sometimes you just gotta let it go. It might be weighing you down. But
Yeah, and you really
yeah,
let it
the
go
road.
by giving the title to the drive-thru employee.
Yeah, yeah. We took the keys and we took the title because the Taco Bell worker was complaining about having to take the bus to work. So we were like, well, what could be a curse to us could be a blessing to her. So we gave it over to her. I think she gave us a text like a week later saying that she had gotten towed and fixed it up. So that's about as far as that story goes. But I mean, there's probably countless stories that I have of on the road. I mean, I've been on the road consistently for the past 2 years. The problem I always see with it is that a lot of musicians can't book a lot of shows, so they're only playing 2 shows a month. And then some guys are playing 10 to 12 to 14.
Hmm.
And so it's easy to get into a spot where you feel like you're better than somebody or you feel like you have it all figured out. And so I think it's always a big balance to be grateful for where you're at, because it's so easy to all of it to just go away. And that was the problem I had is a lot of musicians use it as like a Boy Scout badge,
Hmm.
to say, oh, I do this or I do that. Um, and I think that just all feeds from insecurity. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the road dog lifestyle. I think it sucks. But I do it for a paycheck, so you know.
That's gonna be a clip. That's gonna be a clip right there.
It's the thing. It's like everyone like from face value is like, oh, that's so cool. You get to travel. That you get to go do this stuff. But I'm like, I'm driving 4 hours to play to like 3 people in this shitty bar. Like, you do not want to do this. It's not fun.
Well, everyone
Um,
sees the
yeah,
rockstar lifestyle as the stadium, and they don't see what it took to get there. And that's why, to me, kind of like you were saying, I'm not going to glorify the past artist because I think we have the same number, if not more, talented artists right now. Because of that exposure, we're able to pull those people out of the sticks. Coming from Arkansas, I
yeah,
love when a renaissance happens because we get to see a lot of my fellow native Arkansans come out of the woodworks, and they're extremely talented, and they would not have been found because we don't really have honky tonks in Arkansas. We have like 5 tops in the entire state. I mean, our entire population
yes,
can fit inside of Houston. That's insane.
mm-hmm,
But like all of a sudden, because we have social media, because we have these things that come out of the woodworks, and all that to say, I don't think we have less talent. The issue I think we don't have is we kind of, I guess I would say that we don't have. It's actually that we do have. It's like the illusion of choice. Kind of like you were saying, it's like on one side, it's as if they have the path of least resistance, and why would they not take it? But then they don't recognize that it's kind of that thing of like we'd always play those video games where it's like a simulation where if you choose this, you lose these traits, like football, where it's like, hey, you get a 5-star athlete,
yes,
but you have way more responsibility and you don't have any stats that you get to move around. But then you can choose this like super 1-star, but then you get to build your guy, and it's like everyone keeps choosing the 5-star, but they have no control over what they do. And what happens is most of them, 99%, the same on the 1-star, they get to the end and they don't know how to make it because, like you've seen already, they're not creative. They didn't get any creative juices flowing early on. They don't know how to adapt or
yes,
push through like hardships. And so in the end, they're like a glass cannon. They get out there, they're boom, they're great, and nothing. And then on the flip side, it's the same percentage of people who come in, they're talented, but they have to start out in these dive bars and they fall out. So it's like that's the hard part is now today we have this kind of illusion of that with social media and also how easy it is to contact these managers that for some reason
yeah,
it's like better, and that's where I kind of
mm-hmm,
always try to push back on people is it's like no, I love living in Fort Worth because we have great dive bars, very small dive bars, but we have a lot of people here who care. We have a great music scene,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know how people in areas that don't have a good music scene survive. It's a hard life, like a really hard life. And I respect you for it, man.
That was a hard thing about growing up. Like my town had 1,000 people, and so I used to like try to play little shows at the park or something. Maybe 2 people would show up, and so it's really hard, trying to find a scene. So like we had a scene in Longview, Texas, which was like 40 minutes, and then we had a little scene in Texarkana, but that was like 3 bars and that was it. So you really have to go to like DFW or Houston, to really make a difference. But I think the best advice I ever got was really about individuality because the more that TikTok becomes popular, the more that social media becomes popular, there's nothing that sets you apart from anybody else. So
Mm-mm.
that's when you can be super talented, like Eddie Van Halen kind of talented. But if you don't have the right marketing, if you don't have the right image, if you don't have the
Mm-hmm.
right attitude, it's useless. You're just useless. So that was always a big thing is that focus on just marketing the way you market yourself will always prevail anything else.
Yeah, and that's what I was recently just talking to Cody Bolden out of Georgia, and he says it's best to just do what comes natural to you. If you love country, but you don't really have a country bone in your body and you don't have inspiration, that's fine. Do something else, or find a way to connect with a country audience and respect the heritage there while bringing them another way. But I think it's important what you just said because I mean, look at Merle, look at Johnny Cash, look at Buck Owens.
Hmm.
Those voices, as soon as you hear it, you don't know the song, but you can pick out, oh, that's Johnny Cash. I've never heard this song. And you can go look it up and you can probably figure out by his voice what era he was in. But
Exactly.
today, that's what's hilarious is we have people starting these movements. Yet what's crazy is it feels like back in the day, maybe I'm wrong. Again, I probably need to look into it more, but like Buck Owens starting the Bakersfield sound. No one outdid Buck Owens with the Bakersfield sound, right? Today,
Hmm.
you have people like Co Wetzel starting like an off branch of Red Dirt and Texas country, and then you have Parker McCollum at the same time pushing Texas country another way, towards that John Mayer sound. And
Yeah.
yet, with Parker, he's kind of still doing well to where a lot of guys like coming up, Ty Myers, Hudson Westbrook, they still don't. I don't think they're like there with Parker. They kind of are doing their own thing. But I say 2 years ago, he got woken up when a lot of like Trio Revival started pushing other guys like them, and they started doing better than him. That to me shows our era of starting a trend and then getting beat by the trend because you start that wave. Zach Bryan, same thing. And
Yeah.
I would say he has a strong fan base, like loyal, but in the end, he's created a wave that overtook him, you know?
Hmm.
And that's why it's important to brand
That's
yourself.
that's definitely for sure. I've kind of talked about that in the past as well. Even with like Coe and Parker being best friends, Coe kind of went for the like the emo rock Texas side of things, and then while Parker kind of moved towards that Nashville Texas side, kind of like how Pat Green took a turn too.
Hmm.
Both are safe options, I think. But also, sometimes the genre that you really get put in is not what you inspire people by. Like people always talk about Elvis being the king of rock and roll, but I've always considered Elvis to be more of a king of. Now this is kind of controversial, but more of a king of country because if you look at who's covering Elvis nowadays, it's country musicians. You look who's getting inspired by Elvis, it's country musicians. It's not rock and roll per se. Same way with like Hank Williams, a lot of people are inspired by Hank's old sound, but a lot of those folk guys are super big into like Hank Sr., Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan. So you kind of have that side of things. But then you also have people like John Mayer, where John Mayer's not really inspired a lot of blues musicians, which he tried to outset. He's inspired a lot of country musicians like Ty Myers, like Chris Stapleton, like some of Parker McCollum's stuff. So sometimes the genre they try to put yourself in is not what you actually end up leaving a lasting impact on.
Hmm.
At least that's my
Hmm.
opinion for it.
Yeah, I'll jump on that too because the other day, I don't know if y'all know this, but Ernest dropped
Slow dancing in a burning room.
Slow Dance on a Burning Floor, and then 2 days ago, oh my goodness, who was it that
Riley Green.
dropped it? Riley Green. Okay, why in the same like year and a half span did we drop the same song of the same artist? And my conspiracy is that John Mayer recognizes what country music is doing, and I think he might have paid him. I think he might have gotten their ear and said, "Hey, why don't you cover my song? You know what? I'll even give you a discount, or I'll let you do it for free. Cover this song specifically."
I'll one up you on this one, okay, dude? So I'm not a biggest fan of Tom Myers right now, just because I don't think he's found his sound yet. Because if you listen
Mm-hmm.
to his album, like three of those songs are like exact replicas of John Mayer, but
Mm-hmm.
he covers a John Mayer song on the album.
Yeah.
It's called Man on the Side. But
Yeah.
all I'm saying is that John Mayer is like really influenced a lot of these newer country guys. But I mean, like he's done shows with like Chris Stapleton tons of times, and a lot of those lines get blurred on what genres are. Like, I think right now we have the controversy with Cowboy Carter by Beyonce and, it winning over Chris Stapleton or it winning over Billie Eilish and if it's country or not. But I think really nowadays, since TikTok's so big and someone in the middle of Arkansas in a 200-person town can get recognized, genres don't really mean much anymore because it doesn't matter where you come from. You can do anything you want. You can hear anything you want. You can
Mm-hmm.
have someone in the middle of Pennsylvania be a K-pop fan.
Oh, of
It's
course, of
like
course. But it's the
it's
fact
one of
that
those
they
things
stick to
where
K-pop. Like they wouldn't call K-pop out of Japan. They wouldn't say K-pop's out of China because that would be disrespectful to K-pop. You had to open that
yes,
can of worms right before. we were here.
I
Come
know.
on.
Yeah, I'm about to
But
say it was, but we're about to sign off.
that's my biggest thing that I will push back on. Like a lot of artists, okay, how do I say this? I think a lot of people who make music understand the respect that goes into it. So it's natural for you to say genres don't matter. And I say 100% because we understand the music. And that's the beautiful part of music is where you can watch artists cross over. I mean, look at Hank Sr., look at Hank Jr., both of them in both eras. They got to go on these shows and play with other genres. And it was this fun, like playful, like I bring this and you bring this. But the issue is if
Mm-hmm.
we dilute country down to like country's countrywide, and it is. The people are
Yeah.
countrywide. The genre is not, right? I mean, it is. But it's the fact of like, we have some genres, and honestly, too, what I love is in all genres. I mean, when we talk Matchbox 20, like the angst, everything's starting to come
Mm-hmm.
back, man. Like everything is being represented. We have Beastie Boy type rap coming back. Like insane. But each one of those subgenres deserves respect, especially country, because we have a culture tied to it, right? But when it comes to crossing over, if we come into a collab as a country artist and we claim country and we go into, let's go into a Beyonce Lemonade album era, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
go into that R&B sound. If we don't bring anything new, how are we collabing? All we're doing is
Exactly.
conforming to R&B. But if we bring in Chris Stapleton and he already has enough soul to cross over easily, but let's say Parker McCollum. Let's say Parker McCollum doesn't really have much soul, but he steps over into R&B and he brings a new verse, to a song. That would be
Mm-hmm.
a collab because he's playing country with an R&B artist and they find that middle ground where they take two different colors and they mix them. But if we don't have anything that
Yes.
represents country, if country's just like, then eventually it's just going to be like salt.
Have you
We're not going to be
have
a
you heard
steak. We're not
Parker
going to be a
McCollum's
soup.
cover of a John Mayer song?
I can't
He
remember which one
released it a while
specific.
back.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
he
But
did Perfectly Lonely,
actually,
but
I
that's
didn't like it. Yeah, it
I
was.
didn't like it either. It's a little
Yeah, I don't think
too
he did well.
boring.
I think he could have picked a different song.
The thing I'll leave it off
Perfectly
with
Lonely. That's what
is
you were saying.
that
Yeah.
yeah. The thing I'll leave it off with is like genre specifically, it all goes back to reading a room and seeing what works. Is I was actually watching a video last night about bands who sound completely different than from how they started to how they were popular. So like Goo
Hmm.
Goo Dolls, for example, released 5 studio albums before they ever released Iris, Slide, or Broadway or any of their huge hits that they're known for. And they were more like a punk band, so they did 5 albums worth of material before they found the sound that worked for them.
Hmm.
So I think it's super important as an artist to going into something, don't conform yourself to just one thing. Let the people decide what you are, I think is a
I
huge
think that's
thing.
I think that's a great point. And a note to all artists: yes, find your sound, find who you are, and always respect the genre. Whether that's country, whether that's rap, whether that's R&B, whether that's funk, whether that's anything,
Yeah,
anything you do,
exactly.
whatever genre you feel the need to step into it and have fun. And you're about to have to step into it because we got to get you on the road to your show. Where are you playing? Also, let these folks, if they want to find you, give them some social media to go off of or anything you want to leave them with, maybe your website too.
So tonight we're going to be at Muddy Jake's Bar and Grill in Sulphur Springs, Texas, and then Saturday night we're going to be over at the Lake Palestine Resort in Frankston, Texas. Next week, Friday night, we'll be at Bob's Off the Square in Granbury, Texas. Saturday night, the 15th, we will be at Blue Bonnet Barbecue in Waxahachie, Texas. And then to finish off the month, on February 28th, we're going to be at Brantley Creek Barbecue in Odessa, Texas. So
And
if
what
you
about
like those
March?
shows, March, don't ask that far ahead.
Do
I
you?
don't remember.
Well, where
But I
can
will
they
say
keep
this.
up with you?
Yeah, if you want to see what we're playing in March, we're going to go back on tour in April and finish it out all the way through November. So we'll be playing lots of shows. If you want to see those shows, we're going to become probably near to you. So Jackson James Band is my handle on all my social medias. And whenever you go to my social media, there's going to be a link in my bio. It's called a link tree. You click on it. It has my Spotify and Apple Music at the top where you can listen to my music. And it has all my social medias. And then it has my website link and my booking link as well. So if you're a business owner and you want to book me, just go through the link tree. If you want to listen to my music, go through the link tree. If you're just wanting to follow me, go to the link tree. That's all I can really tell you. But yeah, thank you for having me on the podcast today. I had a lot of
Yeah,
fun, and I
dude,
think
I
we
would
touched
love
on
to
some
get you
great
back
points.
on. We didn't even get to talk about rodeoing, so we'll have to do that next time. But you enjoy
All
your
right,
show,
that's
brother,
good.
and we'll catch up soon.
All right, thank you.